If you are looking for coaching, the link is in the description. Do not click it if you are looking for a shoulder to cry on. I am in the business of strategy, not therapy. Also, for those of you who have realized that your sentimental view of relationships is leading you off a cliff, I have just released a new video on Patreon titled, "Love is Not Enough to Keep a Man." It dissects the uncomfortable reality that affection is often the weakest link in a chain of power. If you want the unvarnished truth that I cannot speak here, go there. Now let us discuss the silence. There's a specific kind of agony reserved for the moment a man ignores you. You check your phone. You see nothing. And in that vacuum, your mind begins to construct a monument to your own insecurity. You assume he is winning. You assume that by withholding his attention, he has established dominance over your emotional state. And the tragedy is that you are right, but only because you are playing the part of the victim rather than the strategist. When a man ignores you, he is not necessarily rejecting you. He is testing the elasticity of your self-respect. He is waiting to see if you will chase him. He expects the double text, the anxious query, the subtle digital nudge. This is how the average woman behaves, and it feeds his ego like raw meat to a starving wolf. It confirms to him that he is the prize, the sun around which your little world orbits. To hurt his ego, to truly inflict a narcissistic injury that will keep him awake at night, you must refuse to play this role. You must understand that his silence is a tactical error, and you are going to exploit it. The most effective way to bruise a man's ego when he ignores you is to treat his absence not as a punishment, but as a relief. You must mirror his silence with a void so deep and so indifferent that it terrifies him. This is not the passive-aggressive silence of a child sulking in the corner. This is the silence of a woman who has better things to do. When he pulls back, you do not lean in. You do not ask if he is angry. You do not post thirst traps to garner his attention. You simply cease to acknowledge his existence. You vanish. There is profound psychological power in this withdrawal. A study published in Psychological Science by Whitchurch, Wilson, and Gilbert demonstrated that women were most attracted to men when they were uncertain about how much the men liked them. This principle of uncertainty works both ways. By removing your validation entirely, you flip the script. You deny him the closure of knowing you are still interested. His ego, which relies on the certainty of your desire, begins to starve. He goes from thinking, "I have her wrapped around my finger," to wondering, "Did I ever matter to her at all?" That doubt is poison to a man's arrogance. He wants you to be the simp. He wants you to be the anxious mess who validates his power. When you deny him that reaction, you are essentially telling him that his attention is not the currency he thinks it is. You are telling him that his silence is not a weapon, but a non-event. It implies that you have options, that you have a life, and that you are not sitting by the window waiting for a crumb of affection from a mediocrity. Most women cannot do this because they're addicted to the game of validation. They fold. They reach out. They apologize for things they didn't do. And in doing so, they hand over their power on a silver platter. I respect the woman who can look at a man's silence and feel nothing but boredom. That is the woman who wins. That is the woman who turns the hunter into the prey. He will eventually come back. They always do, when the supply of validation runs dry. And when he does, do not be angry. Anger shows you care. Be indifferent. Treat his return with the casual disinterest of someone noticing a fly on the wall. That is the final blow. That is how you break the cycle. If you have the stomach for this kind of reality, subscribe. If you prefer to be lied to, there are plenty of other channels for that. And if you are ready to stop being a pawn, comment below with this phrase: silence is my loudest weapon. Let me see who is actually listening and who is just hearing noise.